This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guy Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about fishing. Yes, I'm back in the BTL studios in Shawnee, Oklahoma, for the first time since the end of June. It was a long road trip. I went and visited my parents in Illinois. It was my mom's 78th birthday on July 1st, so I was there for that, and then headed to the Bassmaster Open on Lake St. Clair. Started that practice on a Sunday. Did not want to be out there on a Saturday on July 5th. I thought that was probably just for the preservation of my body and equipment, not a smart move. And I was right. I had some guys that were like, holy cow, that was nuts. So anyway, fished 6-7 straight days there, caught the snot out of them, drastically underestimated how much weight it would take, averaged just under 19 pounds a day and finished 80th in that, which was shocking. They absolutely blasted them. We'll have some of the guests from that event on this upcoming week. Then drove through Canada that Friday night following the final day of that. Now, I had never been in Toronto before, and I know like Toronto, I believe, is kind of like the New York City of Canada. Dude, Toronto's like a sci-fi city. Like, it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And I believe a couple BTL listeners said, hey, like, take the Trans-Canada Highway around it. My buddy Darren was like, oh, we'll just go right through it. It's midnight. It's not going to be much traffic. Canadians drive really fast. I believe the average in that Toronto was like 130 kilometers per hour, which seemed like about 80 or 90. And then like the lighting and the buildings, which I learned a couple weeks later, like they all have like a maximum height because the Toronto airport is right there. So like they can't have, like skyscrapers and things that vary in height. So based on how close your building is to the airport is how high it can be. So like everything is uniform. And then you see the lights is literally like out of a sci-fi movie. But anyway, drove through Canada, got through customs, no problem. Fished on the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, Thousand Islands for a couple of days. Travis Manson actually hooked us up, took us out salmon and lake trout fishing in the lake with downriggers in his Lund for a couple nights. So I put a PB lake trout in the boat. I also put a PB walleye on a Ned rig, an 813 out of the river. Caught some smallies, had a good time, dropped my buddy Darren off at the airport, went and hit up Oneida for an afternoon, caught him cranking a chatterbait in like 2 foot of water over the shoals. It was really windy. Then went from there and drove to Vermont for 3 days to spend with Jody White. Jody's been on the show, covers the BPT, the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, and all things MLF. Probably one of the most knowledgeable guys out there. He's actually out filming day 5 with Keith Carson right now, who just won the final invitational of the season on Lake St. Clair. They took out of Detroit, so the weights were a little bit lower. A lot of those guys had a long run. But anyway, so I roll up to Jody's place, and like typical fishing, like you guys know, I've got buddies who I've known for 15, 20 years in the fishing world. Like, I don't know their wife's name. Heck, I've got guys that I've known for 8 or 9 years that'll say something about their kids, and I'll be like, you have kids? Like, and I've roomed with these guys. I've talked with them. You just don't know their personal life stuff. We're dudes. We talk about fishing, and then when we're not about fishing, we're talking about the tournament and things like that. So anyway, Jody's like, yeah, you can crash at my place. And he mentioned something about how his mom would be there and stuff. And I didn't think anything of it. Well, I roll in. Well, like, Jody lives on like the most badass farm that I have ever seen in Vermont. And like helps run this farm with his mom. They have like 100 high-end sheep. She's like the world's foremost authority on like organic homespun wool. Like, she makes her living like shearing these sheep. They have guard llamas, alpacas, like 5 dogs on it, geese, chickens, like all sorts of crazy stuff. There's people that come from all over the world just to like buy wool. She sells it online. Was one of the coolest experiences that I was not expecting on that trip. Great hospitality from Jody and his family. He took me to a couple little secret ponds that I'm not allowed to say the name. Let's just say this. So there'd be like a piece of cover. This is how good it was. There'd be like a piece of cover, and Jody'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, we'll catch him there." Like 100. I say, like, what are the odds? He's like 100%. There was like one piece of cover, an unidentified piece of cover on an unidentified lake. You'd see these fish sitting on it, and it's clear water, and you'd be like, those kind of look like crappie or bluegill, but then you realize you're like 100 feet away from it. All 3 to 5 pound bass, and when you catch one, the school doesn't leave; they just rise up. We sat on certain things and made 20 to 30 casts, and each caught 15 to 20 3 to 5 pounders. It was absolutely unbelievable. Then we went to another one. Jody caught like a 10-pound brown trout. Just some of the coolest fisheries up there in that New York, Connecticut, Vermont area. And then the reason that I was really up there was to go to the Bass Nation regional. So they had 4 regionals. They revamped the Bass Nation this year. And in the Bass Nation regionals, I registered as an at-large bid. I didn't have to go through all the rigmarole of the Oklahoma team or anything like that. So I registered as an at-large. There were 2 other Oklahoma. Brandon Mosley actually went up there, who I'm glad I didn't know until like the tournament was going on that he was up there, because that dude is intimidating. He knows how to catch him. But you finish in the top 20. There are like 150 anglers in that. And if you finish in the top 20, you make the Bass Nation Championship, the national championship, the same one I went to in 16 and 17 on Hartwell and Conroe. But that championship this year is in November on Grand Lake in Oklahoma. So I went up there, had a really good tournament, overcame some obstacles, made some really good last minute calls. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show, because long story short, I ended up being on the water every single day from daylight to dark, except for the practice days that you had to be off at noon, from July 7th through July 26th. So the 7th through the 26th, daylight to dark fishing. And, when you do that, you kind of get in a groove and all things kind of fall by the wayside. But there is no experience. There is no replacement for time on the water, absolute time on the water. And a guy that we're going to have on today who has spent a lot of time on the water recently, currently sitting in 29th in the Angler of the Year standings, firmly in for the 2025 Bassmaster Classic in Fort Worth, and then also doing a lot of work with the Logan Parks Fishing Foundation and the Chaos Fish. He's got this convoluted tournament that like makes a lot of money and raises a lot of money for the kids, but he's already given back at 25 years old. I think he's 25 now, but we'll bring him in. Logan Parks, thanks for jumping on BTL.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me.
It was a hell of a road trip, man. Like, what's the most consecutive days you've ever just totally committed to bass fishing? Like, just up it, like, do you do that too, like month at a time?
Oh yeah. I was looking at this recently. I left Auburn, Alabama, where I'm from. I guess we travel 2 days before we practice. We try to. So we get there like, Saturday. We have Sunday to get the house situated, get groceries, and then practice starts Monday. So I left Saturday before Smith Lake, which I think was, I don't know when Smith Lake was, like the last week of June. Let's see. So I left Auburn on Saturday, June 22nd.
Okay.
And fished Smith Lake for a week straight. Then me and my dad drove up to New York, and I pre-practiced for Champlain and St. Lawrence for the last 2 lead series we got coming up. And then I flew to ICAST. So I fished from basically June 23rd until July 16th, which was a lot. It was like almost a month straight of fishing.
I ended up, in my opinion, I think I made some calls in that Bass Nation regional. And I know you guys have Champlain coming up, so I'm not even talking anything that happened on the water, but just decision making. I feel like I made some decisions in that event that I would not have been capable of making had I not been on the water for the 20 straight previous days. And they seemed natural, they seemed organic, they seemed quick. And I feel like had I not been on the water, I would not have been able to make those decisions based on little things that I'd picked up over the past 20 days and the confidence that I had developed and grown. Do you feel that same way too? Like you can feel yourself becoming better, the process is easier the more time you spend on the water?
Yeah, you get in that groove, man. Things start to click, and you don't second guess yourself as much. It's like, well, that didn't work, or that did work. Whatever I just did, where should I go now? And it's like immediately like, oh, that's where I'm going. And
Mhm.
then it ends up being a good decision. Like things flow better.
It was nuts. On day 2, so every single day, I would say I had over 18 pounds of smallmouth or largemouth in some cases with Jody. And I've got an hour left on day 2. I was in 7th after day 1, and I just blistered them. I mean, blistered them. I had 380s on cull beams going. I have no idea which one to pick. And that happened like 10 times on the first day. Like, I'm like, dude, I just got to get there on the second day and I'll have 18 pounds by 9 a.m. and everything else will just be gravy. I get there on the second day. I throw back the first 2.5, 3 pounders that I catch. And my co-angler's like, wait, whoa, what? And I'm like, dude, if we got those, we got an issue. And I like start looking, I'm like, boy, this just doesn't look right. We had a big storm the night before. Long story short, I had a 2:20 check-in, and at 1:00, I had my biggest bass was a 3.9, and I had a 5-fish limit for 12.2. And
Jeez.
I'm like, I was so upset at myself. I said, what are the odds that I fish for 20 some days? I said, and then when it comes down to it, the one day where I can make the national championship, where I can make some money back from this 4-week road trip, and there's a bunch of different terms, but this is the day that I have the mental breakdown, make bad decisions, and don't catch them. I'm like, how am I on Champlain with 12 pounds? And I started to make a move to like a bailout area that I hadn't fished, but was like a community hole with like an hour left. And I got there, I literally put the trolling motor down, and it didn't feel right. And
Mm-hmm.
I told my I said, strap your stuff up. I said, we're making a run. I'm going to have 20 minutes to fish, but this is not how it's going to go down. He strapped his stuff up. We ran through 3-footers for 25, 30 minutes. I got to this other spot. I dropped the trolling motor. I had 15, 20 minutes to fish with 12 pounds in the box. And I went 3.25, 3.5, 3.25, 3-pounder. I culled out the 4 2-pounders in just literally dunk, 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 dunk. Ended up with 16.5. And that made the cut. I just don't think I make that call if I hadn't been on the water so much. But I mean, I was fired up too, Logan. Like I was
Yeah.
super fired up, even though like I sucked and dropped to 13th. It was like the best call I've ever made.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I know what you're talking about, like last minute kind of decisions. Like I had one at Murray where I just kind of like stuck with the wrong thing all day and it wasn't working on day 2. And I had like 19 on day 1, but it's just a
Yeah.
similar place to Champlain. Like if you're not catching, you know, 16, 17, 18, 19, like you ain't catching nothing.
Yeah.
And I had 4 keepers all day for like, I don't know, like 9 pounds, like not good. And I ended up running to a point that just back of my mind decision at the end of the day on the way to check in, and I caught like a 4-pounder, my last cast, and ended up
Really?
being a $10,000 fish.
Yeah. You finished
So,
43rd in that one. And that kind of kicked off the momentum because and then you went to the 2 Alabama tournaments after that.
yeah, I had to get back on track after the Florida downturn that we had, but it was good to get the season back.
Now, when you're fishing good, Logan, do you wrestle with decisions on the water or do the decisions seem natural? Like, how do you determine whether you listen to it, whether you stay, what keeps you from running all over?
It it kind of just depends, but like at Wheeler, everything was just perfect. Like I knew, like Like I knew the fish were going to set up at a certain time on certain places just from what I began to learn throughout the tournament. And I knew like when I pulled up, if there was no one else there, I was going to blast them on certain places. And it just like everything just came together, you know. It was awesome.
Just seems smooth and easy.
Yeah, very easy. You
It's
can't do
almost
nothing wrong sometimes, you know, when you're in those situations. Yeah. It's like, I don't know how I possibly got this lucky, you know, like.
I know I'm fishing good, and I've only been in it twice. I wouldn't say I'm in it now. I've been in it twice where I'll come in and I'll be like, how does everyone not have 13 pounds? Like, I don't understand how you can go out and not catch 13 pounds. And then, you know, the last couple of years for me, it's been like I've come in and I've been like, how the hell does everyone have 15 pounds? Like, how does everyone have 15 pounds except me? And it's just like the flip of it. It's like either seems so easy or so hard. And the weird thing is you can't force it. Like you just have to let it happen, which just seems so weird. You would think the harder you work, the better you'll get. But in fishing, that's not always the case.
Yeah, and it seems for me like if you get yourself in like you were saying, like I've done this, you know, a few times and definitely did it in Florida, but like go to your bailout area, like there's no point of having a bailout area. You're screwed if you're fishing that, you know, like it's like in your head, like it's like a feel good, maybe I'll get a few bites area, but like realistically, I'd rather just flip Kissimmee grass and not get a bite, but maybe catch an 8-pounder than go throw a chatterbait in Griffin and catch 7 pounds. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. Depends on
I
where
made
you're
the
at.
same thing on the final day. I had like 20 and a half pounds, but I had gone like 2.5 hours without culling. And I told my I was like, oh, there's no reason to move. I don't want to beat the fish up. But in the back of my mind, I was like, make the run. Make the run. So I did the same thing. I said, strap your stuff up. We're going to have 20 minutes. I said, something's telling me I just got to do this. I said, it could be. I said, but I'll be at peace with 20 and a half, but I'll always wonder. So I made the run. I had 20 minutes left. I dropped the trolling motor. 454, 5 minutes later. Calls out a 370, and it ended up being like a $1,500 fish. So I was like, dude, like just back to back moves like that. And then to think like, you know, the crazy thing is you look at what's going on the Elite Series this year, and you know, there's 30 or 40 guys that are fishing, I feel like right now at the absolute top of their game. Do you get that vibe too? Like when you launch your boat in the Elite Series this year, you know that you're fishing against guys that are dialed in and not just going through the motions.
Oh yeah, dude. Everybody is. I mean, most all of them are. There's a few that I feel like are, you know, kind of letting what's going on kind of upset them, and they're not fishing as good as they are. You know, everyone on the Elite Series is freaking insane, and so you do have like, you know, a slower day. They make you pay on the Elite Series. Like I was in 19th, or let's see, I was in 19th at Murray, and I caught like whatever I had day 2, like 13 and a half, 14 pounds, and I ended up like almost not making it. And at Smith, I thought I was pretty much in, and the weights were like not that great. You know, 11 pounds was a pretty good bag, and the weights actually went up on day 2, and it was like the average bag was like 12 pounds, and I ended up 49th, just barely squeaked in there. And so it's like it's different than the opens. I feel like in that standpoint of if you're struggling a little bit, you may only fall from like 15th to 25th. In the Elite Series, you fall from 15th out of the cut. Like, I mean, those guys don't mess around.
Do you think that's because of a higher caliber of angler that understands how to make adjustments, or do you think that's because of a field size where the fishery actually gets tougher at the opens, or is it the angler who you get guys who want to fish in a comfort zone and are afraid to kind of get outside of that and push the envelope, whereas that's kind of standard protocol at the very top level?
I think it's a combo. I think our weights are better because there's less people and less pressure, and like the guys are just, you know, better at finding everything and exploiting it. and it's a lot easier to get on get on a spot when there's not 225 guys. Like Wheeler this year, obviously I had to share my spot with a few people. I
Mhm.
shared some places with Jacob Fouts and Alex Redwine and John Garrett, but like that was the only three people that were fishing the same, and Tyler Williams, but that was only four people that were fishing the same place as I was. And in the open last year on Wheeler, I like couldn't even get on half of my places because there was like five boats fishing it together. It's insane. Five boats on one shell bar. But I think that's part of it. And then I think that what was the question again?
Well, it's just that, do you think the weights, the main reason why the weights typically go up
Oh yeah,
on the
the
Elite
guys.
Series and typically down in the Opens?
I think that they're also like the best. I mean, they are the best in the
Yeah.
world, and that's because they know how to adjust. So they'll go out on day two and catch 3 pounds more than they did the day before, more often than not. I mean, it hasn't been the case every tournament this year, but like on average, I think if you looked at day one to day two weights, the weights typically do go up, and the cut will go up about a pound and a half to 3 pounds
Which
sometimes.
is nuts. How do you practice adjusting? How do you become a good angler at adjusting to changing conditions? Like I if I want to go out and practice adjusting, how do I do that?
I don't know that you necessarily can practice that. I think, well, I guess you can, but I think it's just going fishing all the time. And that in turn helps you know what to do and why to do it and when to do. Because, like, if you go fishing for 3 weeks straight, one day it's freaking pouring rain, another day it's blowing 40 miles an hour, another day it's slick, calm, and sunny. And you kind of get the feel for what you need to do, and it comes more naturally.
That's true. We're gonna take a break. Clay brings up something interesting. He said, "Remember when the discussion was how many elite anglers were place fillers and how many were straight hammers? Like there was like a definite, kind of line of guys who caught them and did it. And now it's really deep. I actually ran a couple numbers, and we're going to take a break and get back into some other stuff with Logan Parks back in studio after a month on the road with BTL. But currently, Logan, you are you're really sucking in the Rookie of the Year race.
Dude,
I mean, like,
bullcrap.
you're almost bringing up the rear, dude. You're an 8th out of 10 in the Rookie of the Year race.
It's unbelievable, dude. I'm honestly so pissed about it that I have to fish against these guys for I was like, oh, I'm going to try to win Rookie of the Year this year. And then literally after my first bomb in Florida of 72, that was out of the question. Rookie of the Year was out of the question because of how good those guys are catching them. I'm 29th in the points.
That's what it is. So I was like, and now there's still 2 events left. The Elite Series head to Champlain August 8th through 11th, and then they wrap things up the following week on the St. Lawrence, the 15th through the 18th. But in 2023, 8th place in the Rookie of the Year was 59th in the Angler of the Year. And in 2022, 8th place in Rookie of the Year was 85th in Angler of the Year. You're sitting in 29th place in Angler of the Year, and you're 8 out of 10 in the Rookie of the Year. This is truly kind of puts into context how historic the 2024 rookie class has and will continue to be. I don't think you will ever see a rookie class as dominant as this year's rookie class.
They say that every year, but man, the guys that are coming are scary. My buddy Tucker's hopefully going to make it. I think he's in 3rd right now, or 2nd in the points. His buddy Paul Marks is in 10th. We got Emil Wagner in the hunt. Easton Fothergill is obviously unbelievable.
Dakota Ebert. Listen to this. Easton Fothergill, Dakota Ebert, Cody Meyer. I really don't want to mess around with Cody Meyer. Do you?
Yeah.
Tucker Smith, Jack York. Talk about a dude who spends a lot of time on the water. I think that guy's in a boat more often than he isn't down at Lake Fork. Evan Kung, Andrew Loberg. I want no part of Andrew Loberg in the yearly. That dude was like born to fish. He's like, 30 years old from California.
He's going to win.
I do not know Bobby Bakewell that well. Do you?
Hammer.
He is?
Hammer, yeah.
Okay. Matt Adams, who is having a hell of a year. I've gotten to know him a little. And then Emil Wagner, who, I mean, I would put Emil right now in one of the top 5 spotted bass guys in the country. And he's been able to translate and take elements of what he's really strong with out on those blueback lakes and spotted bass lakes and transfer them to smallmouth lakes and other lakes throughout the country. That's the top 10 right there. Paul Marks in 11th. You got Bo Browning in 13. Kyle Austin, Brendan McMillan, Trevor McKinney, Jimmy Washington, and then my boy Austin Cranford, who I would like to see Austin make it just for that would be some. He's got a personality.
All those guys, dude, they're all scary. It's going to continue to be with the format of the all 9. You know, I know it's not that feasible for a person with a full-time job. You know, that's not really it's hard to take off 9 weeks, you know, so that kind of sucks for that aspect. But for the aspect of getting guys that are the best in the world at doing what they do and traveling across the country and getting a diverse group of guys that are absolutely ready to compete at the highest level, I don't think you have a better format than making them fish all 9 of the opens.
I agree. The reason why I don't think you'll ever see a rookie class like 24, like you're a part of, is timing. You had the mix of old school and new school, where there was definitely a group of guys that was able to figure something out, and then the perfect of age group. If you look at a majority of these anglers now, I'm not saying you can't do this with a dozen kids and 2 ex-wives, a current wife, and all sorts of stuff on the plate, but it is probably easier if you're in your early 20s with no kids, so you could spend the time on the water. I think competition. I think there are groups of the younger guys. I mean, you mentioned Tucker and some of the other guys. Like, dude, you pick up little things from each other. You're on the water. You call your buddy who's on the water. You're like, I need to be on the water too. So you have that competition. The schedule worked out perfect for the technology mixed with the style, mixed with some new techniques. I think it's really easy for established anglers to slightly kind of add new things, but there's a drastic turn, I think, in fishing strategy and technique over the last 3 years. And this rookie class fully embraced it. Would you agree with that? Where you would go out and see guys doing stuff in the opens in 23 and be like, yeah, he doesn't have a chance.
100%, dude. I mean, from just fishing the opens in 22 to fishing them in 2023, I almost completely changed my strategy on how I approach the lakes, what I do. And I fished a lot of stuff shallow and fished the bank a lot in 2022. And it kind of burnt me a few times and cost me making the Elite Series that year. I ended up 7th place, and they took 6th that year in the all 9 work down deal. And I kind of committed 2023 to not just using forward facing, but fishing off the bank and finding stuff a little bit more looking at stuff that doesn't look as good and finding stuff off the beaten path and fishing more consistent fish that are probably found by less people and probably less affected by the conditions. And that really has changed the game for me.
We'll talk about this in the second half of the show. But the Bass Pro Tour just extended 5 invites, and you look at what went down in the invitationals this year, and you had Alec Morrison, Jake Lawrence, Colby Miller, Jaden Parrish, Marshall Hughes. The same thing that's happening, and I've done a whole show on this on BTL. The same thing that's happening on the Elite Series is happening on the invitationals. You have a group of guys. A lot of these guys room together. They're buddies together. They are bouncing ideas off of each other. They're staying on the road for months at a time. They eat, sleep, live, breathe this stuff. And you're seeing the results of this. I don't think there's a single guy that's even thought about turning 30 in that group yet.
Yeah, dude. I mean, those guys are unbelievable. I saw that Kyle Hall posted an Instagram post last night. I was reading his caption, and he was like, stayed in 13th place in Angler of the Year. I think he said 3 top 10s. I mean, that is unbelievable. I don't know what his other.
And that's 150 boat
but,
field.
Dude, I mean, you literally had the top 10 every tournament just to qualify almost.
Yeah.
That's
It's wild.
great.
All right. Andy Anderson's on here. He said, make sure to ask Logan about the Fishing Chaos High School event in October. Does that have to do with that chart that you sent me?
Yes. Yeah,
okay. Well, let's take a first break of the show. And then when we get back, we'll get into the Fishing Chaos. We'll get into the Logan Parks Foundation. You're actually on the road right now, messing around up north before practice opens for Champlain, right?
Yeah, I've been fishing. I went out yesterday for the first day on Cayuga. It's pretty sweet.
Is it like packed?
Caught a 7-pound largemouth, and then I caught a 10-pound rainbow.
You caught a rainbow out of Cayuga?
Yeah, I caught a huge rainbow, like 30-incher.
No joke. Is that personal bet? You have a picture of it on your phone that you can hold up?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Or you can just hold it up on your phone there. Did you see it? Did it look like a smallmouth, or were you like, what the heck is this thing?
No, I saw it. Look at this thing.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
That thing is a freaking tank, dude. Yeah, I got it. Did it fight?
Dude, heck yeah, it went insane. So I was up here pre-practicing on Ontario, and I ran into this guy at the boat ramp who, like, he's a guide on these rivers around Ontario. Like, he floats these rivers, like the Oswego River and stuff like that, and catches like steelhead and salmon and trout. And we've been talking back and forth for a while. Like, he's like, I don't know how to catch bass. I'd love to go with you and watch you fish for bass one day. And I was like, well, funny thing, I'm actually going to come up for a few days before the tournaments and fish Cayuga if you want to come. And he was like, for sure. So he jumped in the boat with me, and then we fished for bass for a while. And then he was like, well, if you want to catch some trout, you could probably just troll right out there in 140 foot of water. There's probably some trout out there. I was like, heck yeah, I'll catch some trout. So I just trolled out from where I was fishing, started looking around and started seeing some fish, and started scoping them. Actually, it was sick.
Were you at liberty to say what you caught that on, or you don't have to if you don't?
I caught it on a 3-inch swim bait. Just a
really
little boot tail swim bait, like Kitech style swim bait on a jig head. So
dude, that's so awesome.
It was sick. It was so cool. It went insane. And then he was like, dude, that is like the rainbow of a lifetime for like people that don't come out here and fish for trout. Like, that is a huge rainbow. He was like, we have to get a picture of it. And I obviously don't have a net in my boat. So he's like trying to grab it on the side of the boat, and it keeps diving. And my GoPro wouldn't work. So like, I don't have the dang video, but he put it in the boat finally on the front deck and was like, let's go. And like gave me a high five, and it flopped and went back in the lake. And we were like, no. And like, I had to like grab my rod and start fighting it again. And I got it back up, and luckily we got it back in.
So did he say it was a steelhead or a rainbow?
It was a rainbow trout.
So what's the difference? Is there a difference? Did he say what the difference was?
I have no idea.
But he was pumped. So that's like the equivalent of catching a 10-pounder bass.
Yeah, I think so. He was fired up.
We had I did some shows from Travis Manson's Smallmouth Crush Studio a couple weeks ago, and we had the guy who caught the 1235 out of Cayuga on there after having fished that lake. Is it like mind boggling to think that there's a teener swimming around in there, basically?
Dude, I freaking believe it, because I caught one yesterday that was a 699 on my scale, and it was literally like 18 inches long. It was the thickest bass I think I've ever, like, largemouth. Like,
yeah,
those northern ones are just unbelievable, dude. And there's so much bait and grass in that place. That's the first time I've ever been there was yesterday. It's really, really a cool fishery, and that fish is on the trajectory to get to that level,
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Leitzer's rookie, Logan Parks. It's BTL on a Monday. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, This new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
Yes.
Fishing isn't just a hobby, it's an obsession. Whether it's blazing hot or bitterly cold, bright sunshine, raining, or even snowing. Someplace, somewhere, there's a fish that's ready to bite. And as the angler, you need baits that will catch the fish anywhere, anytime, no matter the conditions. From throwing topwaters to cranking the depths, know the baits to throw. Choose Spro.
Denali Fishing has me covered on the Bassmaster Opens, from their line of high-end rods, from the Android series all the way to the Tack series, the Novus series bait casting reels, all the way to the Covert series of tungsten in the cylindrical and the teardrop shapes. Denali has everything to keep me covered, whether I'm finesse fishing for smallmouth on the Great Lakes or flipping for largemouth in the slop down in Florida. The complete lineup is always on my deck and in my boxes. Denali Fishing. All right, welcome back. BTL on a Monday. Dude, so that's a new Denali commercial there that we filmed this past summer at a media event. Yeah, no, I was shocked. Every time I listen to myself, I'm like, God, I kind of sound like I know what I'm talking about occasionally. But I did the first, I was at Champlain, and I was so jacked up on that first day. So I get a fish, I box it, I call, and then I stand back up and I'm like, yeah. And I didn't realize that Android, it's like a $290, $300 rod, was underneath the boat cleat tie off on the Basscat. Dude, clean, right in half. Just boom, snap. And I was like, oh, that's a real bummer. But it was such a conflicting feeling because I was like so happy that I was catching them. But like, that's my favorite rod, that 7-foot medium.
Absolute roller coaster of emotions there.
Yeah, it was. So I had to I took it off and put it on I ended up putting it on like an older, like the same model that then they upgraded to that. But I was pretty bummed on that. That's like the worst way to break a rod too.
Like, what's put those cleats back down?
Well, the cleats don't go down on a cat. Like they're built into the side rail. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'd never had that happen before.
I did that in high school with my brand new rod. And like in high school, things were different, you know?
Yeah.
I saved up my money for this freaking awesome frog rod. I finally catch one on it and like lay it down, and it slides under my old Ranger cleat. It was the same thing. It was just up, you know?
Yep.
And then I go back up and just pick it up and just hear the crunch. You're just like, oh.
What are some of the worst ways to break a rod? Obviously, the car door, no excuse for the car door, but I break more in the car, the butt of the rod. Like when you're putting them all into the passenger seat, like if you're stopping to eat or you're traveling, you've got your extra rods, and they kind of not so much now because I've got a big truck now, but when I had the 1500, you kind of put them in, but then the butt of the rod would slide right into kind of the crack, and I would close it. I would be, why won't this door close? And then realize that I just crushed the butt of about 3 rods. That one hurts.
Yeah, I would say the other one that really pisses me off is the trolling motor, a little support. If you just drop it hard, it crunches the butt of your rod. You're
that's the worst. Yeah, that's the worst. Have you ever broken a rod like in anger?
No.
I have not, but I have broken a rod the two other ways, and most of the time this is just the tip or the guides, but the cat has the tubes and even the bottom tubes, like at the end of the day where you're just like a little bit perturbed at how things went and you're putting your rods back. I have jammed a rod a little bit hard into the rod box. Gotta be careful here. Into the rod box and broken the eyes off of the rods before. And then I've also had a couple times schooling fish where you go to try to get your top water out and it's tangled with other rods down there. And you're like grabbing it as fast, and then you come out and there's like 3 eyes sitting in your line.
Yeah, definitely getting in a hurry. I've broke some stuff for sure. My buddy in college and high school I used to fish with, shout out Lucas Lindsay. He was a notorious rod breaker.
Like Bo Jackson style?
Like
you're an Auburn guy.
Oh,
so he would Bo Jackson it.
Yeah, dude. I got some videos that are just hilarious.
Like in a derby, like jump off a fish and just boom.
Like now you gotta sit down and re-rig up a new rod. Like you just broke that over your knee because you missed a fish.
I've never done that. It would have to feel good. I can think of a couple times where I would have really liked to. It has to feel liberating, but I've never done that.
Amazing. I've never tried it, but I try to keep my cool a little bit more than Bo Jackson in it.
I've never sawed one off on the gunnel like Iaconelli has a tendency to do. Remember that TTBC where when Keith Combs caught it, he's like, keeper, is it over? And then just boom, sawed it off right on the gunnel.
That was an epic moment.
I did the Pure Fishing Pro Staff probably back when you were like 10 and 20, I think 13 and 2014. So I carried like all the guys' extra rods that were on so I did like the Fenwick, the Abu Garcia, on like the Veritas had just come out, and they were doing like the Revos were kind of new. And
Dash for Ike.
Dude, no, I'm not kidding, Logan. He won one that year. Ike would mysteriously step on, break, get caught. I bet he went through 40 rods that year. And everyone, sometimes it would just be like 1 or 2, but sometimes it would just be like 7 in a day. And you're like, it was kind of like my job to like go down and just like see what was in half, what was missing sections, and like go back to I had an Iaconelli rod tube that was just Ike's rods that I would like replace. When he won that one on the Delaware, I gave I asked him, I said, there's a bunch of kids here. He had mysteriously stepped on one whole side of his rods, so they were all broken. Mm-hmm. And I ended up just like giving them to Ike to sign, and then he would sign like the rod with a Sharpie or the foam on it with the silver and give it to kids. So there's like a number of kids out there with some Iaconelli specials.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome.
All right, let's talk about this. You sent me a photo. So I had you on last year, and we were talking about we talked about the Logan Parks. Let me see. I haven't been in studio for a while, so bear with me here, Logan. But okay, there it is right there. The Logan Parks Fishing Foundation, opportunity for every angler. So you're 25 years old, you're a rookie on the Elite Series. What on earth would possess you or give you the awareness to start a foundation so young?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it was not for high school and college fishing and the opportunities that they provided me. I actually started my first high school fishing team, or I started my high school fishing team with my buddy Lucas, I mentioned earlier, the rod breaker. And, that's when I got into fishing. I had not fished tournaments. I fished for bass all the time around the house, but I had not fished a bass tournament until 2012. And, that's how I got started in fishing, and wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the high school programs that, were produced. Like, I think Bassmaster High School got started that my 10th grade year, and or at least Alabama Bass High School got started. Mm-hmm. We qualified for the national championship, went to Kentucky Lake, and actually finished in 3rd place. And I was like, dang, this is legit. I can actually kind of compete at it and just got into it, but it provided a lot of opportunities for me, especially college fishing. And to be honest, I feel like where the sport is at right now with how expensive everything is, they make it out to seem that this high school and college fishing programs are these great stair step, uh, get you into the elite series type of things, but they don't. They're really not. They do a good job getting guys out on the water, but it doesn't really like pay you the amount of money to like make a difference to help you go to college and pay for your school or like pay for you to, unless you win the bracket, you're not getting the money that you need to fish the opens basically. So I wanted to start this foundation to give back to those two groups of anglers just because it's something I'm really passionate about. And obviously winning the U.S. Open was a huge inspiration for me to try to create something like that for somebody else because it truly was like a surreal out of body experience. And I'll tell you one thing that I've realized just from doing last year's event is fishing is awesome and winning is awesome, but like actually making a difference for somebody is so much better. Like putting on this tournament, I was on like a I don't know, like almost like a high for like a month afterwards. I was just so happy that I was, able to give back to those groups and seeing the parents and how, like there's parents that were like crying at the weigh-in, like for their kids. They were so happy. And just seeing that and being able to create that environment is so rewarding. And I love it. I'm very passionate about that.
Was last year the first year that you did this fishing chaos tournament with the unique format?
Yeah, so last year was our first year. I don't know if it's first inaugural or whatever, but
First annual,
and
I think is the word for that. I don't know. We're getting that mixed up, just like we did steelhead and rainbow. So steelhead, I guess, live in the salt and then come into the fresh. So if there's no salt, then I guess they're rainbow. I guess you can't have steelhead and strictly fresh. So there you go. So I'm getting inaugural and annual mixed up like we got. But I think it's first annual, which means that you're going to have it every year, right?
Yeah. So we're going to have it every year. Last year we gave out over 175,000 in cash scholarships and prizes. We had 84 teams, so we had 84 high school kids and 84 college kids, and it's a cool format, like where we combine the high school and college, like two separate groups together. And the college guy has to have a boat. He's the boater. And we have like an NFL style draft where they sit down and look at a list. We have 3 days of official practice, and the kids are submitting their fish through the Fishing Chaos app in practice, just like they would be in the tournament. It's a catch, weigh, photo release, like you see there, where they're, just submitting pictures of the fish on whatever scale they have. Then we have those draft stats. So we rank those high school kids based on their best day of practice. And all the college anglers were able to look at the page and see where the high school guys were and who caught them. And I actually put all their social media handles on there as well. And so they could kind of like figure out who they wanted to pick. Then we had an actual draft where the college guys picked their high school partners, and they fished together as a team the following day. So it was a pretty awesome experience. We had over 2,712 fish submitted last year just from practice in the tournament. We had 1,600 submitted in the tournament alone. And we were able to pay out over 150% of our entry fees. Like it's a 501c3 nonprofit, so I don't, pay anyone. We don't have any employees. I don't pay myself. It's impossible to do that, I think. So just trying to create as many opportunities for these guys and give back to them as we can. Another cool thing that happened is 2 high school anglers last year met colleges. I don't know if you can find it in there, but we had a locker room recruiting session. So most of the pre-tournament stuff like the draft was actually in Auburn's football stadium in Jordan-Hare.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
We got access to the locker room, and we had all the colleges that were there. We had 19 different colleges set up tables inside the locker room that were like their like school's table. and all the high school and their parents got to walk through the locker room and talk to all the different colleges, kind of get to meet some of those guys that they wouldn't normally have thought of. And so we had 2 high school kids sign scholarships with 2 of the schools that attended that they never would have met otherwise.
Dude, this is badass.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot of fun. So 2024 is going to be even bigger and better. And last stat about 2023, because of the format, which you'll see on the diagram, but because of that format, the live leaderboard was popping off this past year. We had almost 100,000 views in 6 hours on our live leaderboard for the Fishing Chaos.
Wow.
So it's pretty.
You can go to that. That is that on your YouTube channel? It's also on the Logan Parks Fishing Foundation.com. This is here. I wanted to get this kid on the show. This is Reese, right?
Yeah, that's
Reese. He goes
Reese.
to Auburn now. He just had a really good Toyota Series event, I think.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did.
And he fishes for Auburn. I've been wanting to get him on BTL. I might hit him up after this, but he fished a few of the opens last year, and now he fishes for Auburn.
Yeah, he fishes for Auburn, and fishes, I think, some Toyotas and things like that.
Yeah, he hangs out with a lot of cool people.
Yeah, his mom, I think she retired, but she was like 6 months ago the president of the NBA Players Association. So
yeah,
she knows a few people.
He's always fishing with. This is one of the other reasons I want to get him on. He's always fishing with Steve Harvey.
Yeah, dude, did you see that video he posted? It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Out here with some old man or whatever, and he hand over, and Steve Harvey was holding up a bass. I was like, "That's awesome, dude!"
I need to get Reese on. I've met him a couple times, like just in the parking lot or like passing on the water. He's always like super positive.
Yeah,
he's a super happy dude. So, all right, let's get to this because this is a confusing setup until you understand it. So we won't be able to see us, but there is the tournament bracket. So explain how this thing works then.
All right, so we have, this is for 2024. We're capping the field at 150 teams. So we have 150 high school kids, 150 college kids. We're going to pair them up. We're going to have the draft, and they're going to create 150 teams. There's 3 rounds of the tournament. So it's almost like kind of similar to the MLF format, but all in one day. And it's crazy fast paced. So we have round 1 that'll run from 6:30 to 9:40 a.m. All 150 teams are together fishing against each other in round 1. And at 9:40, we have a 20-minute break, an intermission, where the anglers cease fishing. And we actually divide them into 2 separate groups. So we have the survival group and the sudden death group. So the top 75 teams from round 1 make it to the survival, and the bottom 70 move to sudden death. Then we essentially have 2 separate tournaments in round 2, but the weights carry over from round 1. So round 2 runs from 10 a.m. to 12:40 p.m., and the survival group is only competing against each other, those 75. The sudden death is only competing against each other. So you want to make it to the survival.
Right.
Because we're taking 20 teams out of the survival group at the end of round 2 to the championship, and only the top 5 from the sudden death make the championship for a top 25 championship. But either way, you're going to have a great opportunity to make some money. So we have another intermission at 12:40 to 1 p.m. That's a 20-minute break. This whole first round 1 and round 2, we've had a live leaderboard. The weights carry over from round 1 into round 2, like I said. At the beginning of round 3, from 1 to 3 p.m., the weights are completely zeroed and the live leaderboard is gone. So the top 20 advance from the survival to the championship. The other guys go to the consolation round down in the bottom left-hand corner. So what is that, 55 guys are fishing the consolation round. So they're having a separate 55-boat tournament where the weight's zero for $4,000. The sudden death guys, they're going down to the last chance, the bottom 70. So the guys that didn't catch them the first round, didn't catch them the second round, have a 2-hour shootout at the very end of the day where anyone has an equal chance to win $3,000. It's a 70 boat tournament for $3,000.
That's
And
freaking cool. That keeps everyone in it. Like, you're never out of it. You're fishing the whole day. You're always fishing for something, especially if you're a high school kid who has a bad morning. Like, you're not like bummed. You're always 2 hours away from doing something.
Yeah, and the championship is $25,000 for first place. So it's a 25 boat tournament at the end of the day for 2 hours for $25,000.
And you're fishing with college kids too then? So you have college and high school. So like you've got a lot of cool stuff going on there with relationships being built between 13, 14-year-olds and guys who are in college that they can ask questions about, learn from, maybe persuade them to go to their college, that type of stuff.
Yeah, dude, like just the stories that came out of the tournament were phenomenal. Just hearing like the mentorship opportunities. I ended up last year creating a I think I called it like just a mentorship award, but Hunter Jenkins from Dallas Baptist University was awarded it. I created it after I got a text from a kid's dad who ran into Hunter at the boat ramp, and they were, out there practicing. Both of them were practicing separately. And Hunter was like putting his boat in. He was like, well, why don't you just ride with me today? And, I can teach you things about using, live scope and just out here catching some of these suspended like Lake Martin spotted bass. And so I ended up taking the kid fishing. I think they ended up being able to, he picked him in the draft. So that was cool. And they fished together, but like he went out of his way to make sure that the kid was having fun, make sure that he was, catching some fish during practice. And, it creates a lot of awesome opportunities. I mean, the high school guys have the perfect chance to showcase their skills and get scholarships from some of the top teams in the nation. And, win a lot of money at the same time. And on top of that crazy payout, so we're capping the field this year at 150 teams, and the entry fee is $200 a person. So if we get full field, which I think we will, we're already almost halfway there, it looks like at the point. And we have 100, if you scroll down, 145. So we're almost exactly halfway full at the moment. It's been open for 3 days. Registration.
Oh, geez. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you have high school anglers, no high school anglers, you can get to it. This is on the Fishing Chaos, but through the Logan Parks Foundation, like probably get on this.
Yeah, just go to Fishing Chaos. Especially college guys, I need college guys to come fish with us because you guys are the bread and butter. You're the boaters. I need you guys to come and fish because.
And the college guys win stuff too then?
Yeah, they split the money 50-50.
Oh, okay. Okay, sweet.
Yeah. So it's a 2-person team. A college guy is the boater. The high school kid is a non-boater, but they're, fishing together as a team, basically like a team tournament. And if we get a full field, which I think we will, we'll have $60,000 in entry fees. So if you look at that bracket, I think it accounts for, I don't know, like 33,000 or something like that. The rest of that payout is going to be going to that championship round, like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So we're going to pay the top 15 out of the top 25 in the championship round. It's going to be awesome. And
everyone knows where you are during the event too. Like you can look at the app.
Yeah, dude. Like the live leaderboard will be first round, second round, and then, like I said, it disables. And that was what was so cool last year. It disabled at the start of round 3. So the anglers had an idea of who was leading the first 2 rounds, but then the weights get zeroed. So like they could have struggled, you never know what's going to happen. But we make them come back to Auburn for the trophy presentation. So we had the full field, like a packed gym full of parents and all that for a tournament weigh-in per se that didn't even have any fish because everyone wanted to just know what was going to happen. It was really cool.
Did you come up with this format?
Yeah, I sat around and brainstormed for like a month.
Dude, it's complicated, but once you understand it, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's what it's almost easier for people to go to my YouTube channel and watch the documentary that Bass Pro Shops filmed on it last year because they came, and it's on my website too, the Logan Parks Fishing Foundation's link there.
Is that what I was watching?
Yeah, you were playing it.
Okay.
But it's almost easier to watch that like 14-minute video and learn how the format works than it is to explain it, because it is complicated. But like you said, once you get it,
Yeah.
like I had those guys, they were saying like, I've never fished so hard in my life because of this format. Like this was the most exciting, like fast-paced, engaging tournament I've ever participated in. Like just all kinds of statements like that coming out of
Mhm.
the anglers from last year. Like this was the most fun I've had in a long time on the water type stuff. And you're coming from a college guy that, you know, is paired up with a high school kid he's never met before. This year we're doing things a little bit differently than last year. Last year we just had the draft and then threw them all together on the water the next day for the tournament. This year we're actually going to have the draft Friday afternoon after the third day of practice, and then Saturday we're going to give them a half day to practice with their fishing partner, and then the tournament will be Sunday again. So, and then the biggest thing about this year's event, obviously, Abu Garcia is the presenting sponsor again. They were last year, they are again this year, and they've been a phenomenal partner of mine. But Nitro Boats has stepped up as the title sponsor of the tournament. So on top of that crazy payout, over $60,000, Nitro is helping me give my boat away at the tournament. So one lucky competitor don't have to win, all they have to do is show up and fish, is going to take the keys to my brand, or to my 2023 rookie season Nitro, fully rigged, and they get to take it home with them.
That's freaking awesome, dude.
So it's gonna be sick. We're gonna fill the boat up with Abu Garcia rods and reels, Berkeley baits, like all brand new stuff. It's gonna be fully. I'm gonna take my tackle out, and then we're gonna fill it full of new tackle. So whoever wins that boat, I'm really excited to give it away and see their reaction. It's gonna be sweet.
That's freaking cool. Yeah, you got a bunch of good stuff on your YouTube channel. This is the one at Murray? Is this the last minute fish that got you your?
It was day 2. It was the end of.
Is that
day
it right
2.
there?
No,
you look pretty dialed in on that one. Okay, day 3, so it's got to be somewhere around here. It's got to be
right. That should be it. Right before that.
Time left to fish, 25 minutes. You got 4 fish.
I got pretty high.
Did you?
Yeah.
There it is. Oh, I like how you're blurring the screen so you don't give away that juice point.
Yeah. Got to, bro. There's too many pirates out there.
Boom. Oh, that's a good one, too.
Dude, look how I choked that magic swimmer, too.
Oh, my gosh.
That was sick.
That's the $10,000 fish that we kind of came full circle talking about decisions. I just saw it on I just saw that on the YouTube channel when I was there.
Yeah, I've been getting after it on YouTube. I hired a full-time cameraman this year, Jack. He's been awesome to travel with, and we've been pumping out content. So if you're over there and you're checking out the tournament video, watch some of my other videos because they're a lot of fun. Smith Lake, we just posted Smith Lake day 1 and 2 video actually yesterday. So that's the video right there on the left, though, the top. No, I'll scroll down. It says 175,000.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's the what's it called? The highest paying high school and college tournament ever. Yeah, there you go. Just look that up on YouTube and check out last year's event because it really explains it probably better than I have. But
you having fun? You having fun out there in your rookie year?
Dude, I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's been a dream come true just to be here and to be able to compete on this level against these guys, and like blasting off doesn't get old. They call Rick Clunn's name, you're like, oh my god, like
have you chatted with him? Like you got the whole Bass Pro Shops thing, and like have you become like buddies with Rick? What's Rick like out there? I know everyone is like, he's just in awe of what he's doing right now.
Yeah, Cody Huff is really close with him.
Yeah,
he talks to him pretty regularly.
Does he kind of guard him? He's like, no, I'm the only I'm the
he's
only
like our
protege
liaison
for Rick.
He's our liaison for Rick. No,
stay away from Rick. He's mine.
I talked to him a little bit in the lock at Rodman, at St. John's a little bit, but
Mhm.
I haven't really had a chance. It's weird the way that the format works with the Elite Series. Like,
If you're not in their group, you don't see them ever.
yeah, like there's half the guys I still haven't even seen them. Like, there's like probably 25 guys on the Elite Series, maybe 45 or 50 that I've not said a word to because
The way it works is they schedule out for the year, so everyone ends up getting the same amount of fishing time with the flight, so you don't end up in the opens like me.
you
who
can be
has been-
first flight every tournament.
Dude, 5 out of the 6, 5 in a row, I've been below 153 in the
No
opens this year.
way.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then I go to this Bass Nation thing on Champlain, but 123 out of 140. Like it's comical at this point. But now I want late because we're up north and you want a longer day. Anyway, long story short, it's been crazy. But they stagger it, so like you kind of have your flights that you weigh in with the entire year. Because if they switch flights, then you got guys that are all mixed up, so that you see the same guys every single year, and then the guys who are in the flights around you, because you kind of stagger them, so you get the same amount of fishing time over the course of the 9.
It's cool,
So-
but like it also kind of stinks because like, you know, you want to be around some of those guys, get a chance to talk to them, and it's like you're in the bag line with the same 25 guys for 4 tournaments in a row, and then the next 4 tournaments you're in the bag line with the same 25 guys, and so it's cool though. I mean, I've had Rob G in my group all 8 tournaments so far, or 7, so that's been awesome.
He's on my guest list. He seems like I ran into him at the Classic. He seems like a super cool dude.
Dude, he's awesome. He's upstairs right now, actually. He just got
Mello?
tonight, yeah. So,
Oh, really? So you're rooming with Robert G.
yeah, Rob's part of the fam. Me,
Okay.
Rob, John, and Cody Huff room together this year.
John Garrett?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I just texted him to get him on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I need to get G on, so he like made my buddy's life. My buddy is Juice's Jigs, Jarrett Morrison,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
I met
dude.
at University of Oklahoma bass fishing. And then he's like, "Do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Dude, he hit me up. I'm working on some like custom stuff with him." And then it actually was on Fox on the Elite Series. Juice thinks he's like the next Bass Pro Shops now. Like he thinks that we're talking like 7 figures in jigs, but he does these crazy cool custom hair jigs and has all sorts of different. I don't know. He's obsessed with it. That's never been my thing, but like I go out to his garage and he's like, "Look at this like petrified woolly mammoth fur that's been dyed with organic beets." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
But
Rob caught some big ones on it at Smith the last day.
oh no, they're legit. Like I've got
Yeah.
some under my hat that, you know, when the time is right, they'll definitely be a player. But
yeah, they're good.
good deal. All right, I'm gonna let you go. You going out on the water back to Cayuga today, or is today like a work day?
Probably a work day. I've got some meetings about the Logan Parks Fishing Foundation. So
Which
if
we just learned all about.
If anyone's watching and they want to reach out and support the tournament or help us put it on, because, you know, like I said, we're paying out 100% plus of our entry fees. So need a little help, you know, covering the cost of the meals and the dinners and the things that we're going to be doing this year for the anglers. You can go on the website and donate, you know, any dollar amount if you're just, you know, like a person that wants to give, LoganParksFishingFoundation.com, or if you're a company, you know, reach out to us, Logan Parks Fishing Foundation at gmail.com, about sponsorship, because we've got a few different levels of sponsorship that, you know, are going to be available to help support our anglers and get your, you know, logo out there to the youth of bass fishing. We actually have some pretty cool options that we can offer companies, like sending out push notifications to the entire, you know, tournament field through the Fishing Chaos app, sending out emails to all those guys, and obviously just good exposure for that age group of guys. So if you want to help, hit me up on email. It would be much appreciated.
Who you got? You got Bo Jackson. You got Charles Barkley, right?
Yeah,
I feel like Barkley would be all about this. Like, I feel like I could picture him being like, "This is a good format."
Yeah, I need to get him and a live broadcast going and get him on because that would be insane.
He would be an awesome commentator for that deal.
Yeah,
like to get him there, and then obviously Cam Newton.
Got a few big names.
You do. I'll end with this. So I mean, OU officially now in the SEC. My alma mater, you can see like right there. There it is. I graduated from the University of Oklahoma. Like, I was cool with the Big 12. It was fun. Like, every year, so many championships and all that. But how do you think OU and Texas are going to do in the SEC now?
Texas has been. I mean, I guess it's just a different landscape, dude. I mean, I don't know what to expect. Nick Saban is gone. Like, what the heck? Like, Nick Saban is gone. I can't. That's the best thing that's happened to Auburn in a long time.
You think we'll be able to hang, though?
Do what?
You think we'll be able to hang?
I think so. I think Texas will, at least.
Well, yeah. I think they'll be able to hang because they got the 11th easiest schedule in the SEC this year, whereas we got the second hardest schedule at OU. I don't know how that ended up happening, but
yeah, that's not ideal. I think it'll be a completely different landscape with the 12-team playoff format. I think all the teams collectively are going to get better because the players don't have to go to like 4 programs to make the playoffs, It's like Alabama, OSU, like Georgia, like now they're going to be like, well, I could go to, Auburn or Oklahoma and play for a championship so I think we'll all collectively get better and it's going to be exciting.
I think it's just like fishing. I think you're seeing a lot of, I think at that top level collectively, it's amazing how much talent.
Y'all play Auburn this year?
I think we do. 1 second.
I think you guys are coming to Auburn, maybe.
Let me see here. Our schedule. I know we've got 2025 football schedule. Do we play Michigan this year? I just know that.
That would be unfortunate.
I didn't think we did.
I'm thinking that I got season tickets this year, so
there it is.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it has us playing Michigan Wolverines on September 6th. I thought that changed. Maybe not. I don't. Yeah, we play Auburn in Norman though.
In Norman?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, don't have tickets to that game, but I got season tickets for home games.
No, this had to have changed too. Then.
I thought maybe not.
I've seen like 5 different schedules now. I've got it on my deal. Like, I'm going to go to the main one. Hold on.
Yeah, it says September 28th to be determined at home. I think. September 28th, Oklahoma at Auburn, to be determined.
Your Sooner Sports. All right. Teams.
That's what I'm seeing.
Men's. I'll tell you what, I did this mustache and then I caught him and I didn't. I can't do this with the podcast. It gets stuck in the fuzzy thing.
Well, you should come to the Auburn Oklahoma game because I will be there getting rowdy.
Yeah. Okay. So here it is. This is officially. I knew we got rid of that because of all the conference realignments. We have Temple, Houston, Tulane, then Tennessee at Auburn, September 28th, 2:30 game.
Yeah. Need to pull up. The loveliest village on the plains would be happy to host you.
Dude, I don't have anything going on that weekend.
I don't think I do, so I'll be there.
I might have to do that. So when I did the Steve Kennedy, have you seen the Steve Kennedy documentary I did a couple years ago called Knowing Mr. Kennedy?
I have not watched that, but I need to. Obviously.
Dude, you got to go to the BTL YouTube channel and just type in Knowing Mr. Kennedy. And I went and I spent like 3 days with Steve and Julia and the kids. And we went to like Auburn and toured the whole thing. But I like mic'd him up. So like a day and a half in, he forgot he was mic'd up and we got some really good stuff.
That's awesome.
Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Maine, Missouri, Alabama, and then LSU. That's freaking strong. We got LSU, Alabama, Texas, Auburn, Tennessee. Yeah, Auburn right there. So hopefully we'll be 3-0 for. We should be. Technic. I don't want to ruffle Luke Duncan's feathers, but by that point we should be 4-0 heading into Auburn late September.
I think we'll be 4-0 if Ronnie Moore is watching this or Kyle Jesse. Hopefully we can handle Arkansas on September 21st at home. So could be a undefeated matchup between the Sooners and the Tigers.
I like it. All right, I'm going to let you go and get back to work. Then I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come back with a rare preemptive BTL rant, because some stuff went down over this past week with some equipment that I used that I'm hearing rumors about that I may not be able to use, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, especially in today's landscape. So before anything comes down the pipeline, I want to make a very black and white statement about this as to what should or should not happen with this particular piece of equipment and why.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Logan. See ya.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Dude, it's been cool. And if you're a high school or college angler or you know one, tell them to come fish my tournament, because they could literally win my fully rigged nitro. So might as well.
That's good stuff. All right. Enjoy your time in New York. And man, I'm jealous. I just got done with the month of smallie fishing and you're just getting into it. Oh, I'm so jealous. It's so much fun, isn't it? You can never get tired of it. You literally never get tired of it.
It is. Hopefully we'll have two good ones and solidify our classic spot in the rookie season. So I'm looking forward to the chance to do that.
See ya. Maybe I'll see you in September too.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Later. All right, that is Logan Parks. Like I said, a preemptive rant on BTL to kick things off back in studio. It is Monday, July 29th, and we will be back right after this.
Yes. Fishing isn't just a hobby, it's an obsession. Whether it's blazing hot or bitterly cold, bright sunshine, raining, or even snowing, someplace, somewhere, there's a fish that's ready to bite. And as the angler, you need baits that will catch the fish anywhere, anytime, no matter the conditions. From throwing topwaters to cranking the depths, know the baits to throw. Choose Spro.
Gamakatsu, the innovation leader in fish hooks, is launching Nano Alpha technology in 2024. Nano Alpha is a new finish available on Gamakatsu's most popular hook styles. It delivers 2 times slicker performance, 4 times better corrosion resistance. Nano Alpha technology makes the world's greatest fish hooks even better in 2024 to help anglers catch more fish.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mount you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com. Welcome back, BTL on a Monday. Good to be back in studio. It's hard to believe how fast the road trip goes. Like, man, especially when you're up there smallmouth fishing, you're looking at like the wonder and wild of beautiful nature, and it's just like the days just boom, boom, boom. But like I said, big shout out to Travis Manson for letting us do some shows in his studio, for Jody White for hosting me. And then Josh, who I ended up rooming with, I put 2 shows out with Josh from Canada, who fished the Bass Nation. He's just a BTL listener, messaged me and said, "Hey, I'm fishing this. I don't know if you're looking for a roommate." I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "How's this house look?" I was like, "Dude, have at it. I'll just show up. I'm good to go." And then we ended up getting along famously, like had a great time. We'd sit by the fire overlooking Lake Champlain at night. I thought he did a great job kind of telling his story of getting into bass fishing 4 years ago. And he has ate up with it. And I think he's got a strong future in it. Just has to stick with it there at that Bass Nation. I will say this, like there's been a lot of changes, and I said this on stage the final day of the Bass Nation. There's a definite feel to the Nation anglers. You got a lot of talented anglers. You have some new anglers. You got guys in between. There's co-anglers in that mix. But there's a definite grassroots feeling to it. You talk about Iconelli and Polinick and Paul Mueller. Caleb Summerall. There's a bunch of guys who have been Will Davis, back-to-back champion, who their careers have been launched through the Nation. But what Bass and Hank and those guys were charged with over there was trying to figure out how to kind of standardize the states, because you had a lot of different ways to qualify for the national championship, how to keep the qualifications for the Bassmaster Classics, kind of like they do at the US Open in golf, with the Elite Series spot, how to reach as many people as they could, how to still make it profitable for the organization and realistic for the anglers to compete in it, how to make it work in coordination with the Bassmaster Opens that went to the 9 EQs. So you could still have the working man who couldn't take 2 months off of work or 3 months off really, but still have a shot to make the Bassmaster Elite Series. And that's kind of where these regionals came in. You don't have to go through the state process. You can be an at-large Nation member. I'm a member of the North OKC Bassmasters. Do not fish the Nation in Oklahoma, and haven't for a number of years, but could jump in this as an at-large, finish in the top 20. I didn't know how the feeling would be there with the anglers. I had 3 really good co-anglers. I scoped for 3 days. My day 1 co-angler was a great sport about it. My day 2 co-angler caught a limit. And then my day 3 co-angler, I was like explaining to him, "Hey, we're in the top 20. Congrats on making it. Like, here's what I'm doing. I would suggest, like a heavy drop shot, get it down to the bottom. Like if you do that based on where I'm fishing, you'll get bites." And he's like, "I actually have a question. Can I bring my own live scope?" And I was like, "Dude, I've been waiting to see how this works with the mobile live scope out of the back of the boat." He cleared it with the tournament director. There are several anglers in the Opens who are fishing as co-anglers and on the Toyota Series who bring their own live scopes. I said, "Yeah, have at it. Let's see how this thing works." So he came. And he's 24 years old, super positive attitude. I look at all of his stuff. It's like all like high-end Shimano's, NRXs. He's got the whole array of like, every bait that's ever caught a smallmouth bass. He just came with like 4 spinning rods. I was like, okay, this will be interesting. And he gets in the back, and it's like in this cooler thing, and it's got like a mount on the side. And I said, "Well, how long if we move do I?" And he's like, 20 seconds. It's like, "You have that thing like down, deployed, ready to go?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." So I never had any interference. He put that thing in the back, and I knew when I'd missed a fish scoping because I could hear his bait go bloop, and I'd go, did I miss one? He said, yeah, he probably made 50 casts over the course of the day and had 3 for about 10. We moved, we ran a little bit, and I thought it was a very interesting scenario to have a guy in the back with a mobile scope. He had a LVS 32 on a stick and like a 10-inch screen. Like I said, he saw it on TikTok and made it, and he was able to catch fish. I'd imagine it'd probably be pretty hard as fast as I was moving and scoping those fish on Champlain. But all right, I want to give an opinion piece to close out the show today. And over the past year, the 2024 season, I've been working with Power Breaks based out of Oklahoma, the 40-pound thrust Minn Kota trolling motors that attach to your power poles. You put them halfway down. I have a stop button and a forward button. And the whole purpose is basically think of it as deep water anchors. They're power poles except for out deep, to where if I am moving in a direction and I want to stop, instead of taking my trolling motor and spinning it backwards and hitting the stop button, I can literally just hit that button and my boat goes slows, goes to a stop. Or if I'm in a dock and I get my jig stuck and I want to get it back, I can deploy the power brakes and I can back up instead of blow out that area. Now, from everything I've heard, the tech committee for Bassmaster, and we've had Gene Gilliland sit right across this, a guy that I really, really respect a lot with what he's done in fisheries biology in Oklahoma, to the lakes in Oklahoma, to his knowledge, to running the bass conservation. I do not know when they're going to come out with the rules, the tech committee, as to what will be allowed in the Bassmaster Opens and the Elite Series in the 2025 season. We're talking all forms of technology here, from the screens to the number of inches, to the height of it, to the transducers, to the power, to the batteries, all the way back toward the power brakes. And I have heard that it is going to be sooner rather than later, because obviously based on it, the limitations for however everybody's going to have this configured for the 2025 season. Now, Clay's getting ahead of the game. He goes, it's not any more of a drifting issue with the brakes than it is with the trolling motor, which I agree, which is what I'll get into. So the rumors in bass fishing, and what I have heard, which has not been confirmed or denied by the tech committee, is that the braking system is out because it is easy to troll backwards and therefore move your bait with the lure, which is illegal. So it invites rule breaking with these power brakes, with the C brakes, which whatever there is on that. I have used these things in tournament competition. Some tournaments I don't even deploy them. Doesn't help. At Champlain, I used a complete system where I was going with the wind, utilizing the power of my lithium batteries, and going 2.8 miles an hour looking for fish. And when I saw them in the distance, with my rod in my hand, having not cast without a bait in the water, I would hit my power brake button, and that would slow my boat from 2.6 to 2.8 miles an hour down to 0.2 miles an hour, going with the wind. No different than what I would do as if I was going down the bank, saw a bed with a fish on it, and deployed my power poles to stop my vessel so I could then target the fish. Once I saw that fish and I had slowed it down, I would then be able to present my offering to the bass on Lake Champlain and catch him. The power brakes were an integral part in the process that I was able to use. There were also times where I would have a fish that would follow the bait back and then sit 20 feet in front of the boat or under the boat. Without a bait in the water, I would hold it, and instead of hitting my trolling motor, I would then hit my power brakes button. I would back the boat up to where the fish was 40 or 50 feet in front, and then I would present my offering. Now, what some of these people are saying is, oh, well, you're going to get this bait and you can go backwards with it. You can troll backwards with it. Therefore, you can move your bait with the motor, which is considered trolling, which is illegal in all Bassmaster competitions. The reason that you can drift on the St. Lawrence River and with the wind on other Great Lakes is because the propulsion is a natural propulsion from the wind. It does not derive from a motor. I think they are very cut and dry, easy to understand rules. Also, if you're looking at a cost effective, you can get a set of power brakes, the sidekicks installed for less than $2,000. So you're talking about less than the cost of a forward facing sonar unit and a screen. However, there are those who are saying, oh, this is inviting cheating because you easily can pull a fish and move a fish. Here's what I say to that. It is also incredibly easy to snag a fish with a treble hook as opposed to a single hook. But just because it makes it easier to snag a fish with a treble hook doesn't mean we make treble hooks illegal. It means you follow the rules and you do what is allowed based on the rules. The power pole move also has a reverse button. It is no different than a reverse button on some of the other trolling motors. It is no different than taking the trolling motor, regardless of what brand you have at the front of your boat, moving it, turning it directly behind you and moving it backwards. In my opinion, there are a select number of anglers that are making their voices extremely loud that believe they have pulled, that are saying, hey, these are being used for cheating. When they are not, it is simply that they want to have them on their boat because they know that it is a very viable tool in this game, especially with the way that the game is going, and their current sponsors do not allow them to either have competitors trolling motors or the brakes on the back of their boat. So therefore, they're trying to get it banned. It has nothing to do, in my opinion, with cheating. It has nothing to do with moving your bait with the power brakes. It has nothing to do with too much technology on the boat. It is simply because it benefits a small group of anglers. I hope, and I really, really am optimistic that the tech committee, when looking at numbers of transducers in the front of the boat, in the back of the boat, the inches of screen at the front of the boat, the back of the boat, the number of units, the height of the units at the console for a safety issue to be able to see over it, the optics of having $30,000 to $50,000 worth of electronics on your boat. I am not here to debate what it should be. What I hope and what I pray is that they have the wherewithal, they have done their homework, and they understand the tools that these brakes provide that do not give an advantage, that do not break the bank, that are a tool literally just like power poles to enhance the fishing experience and to help you catch the 5 biggest bass that you can come in with that day. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how you catch them or want them, that's what it is. There is an untapped market in here. I think these are on the same path as power poles. And my fear is that bass will look at it. They won't take the time to understand what they do and how they work. And they will just blanket ban them, which would really, in my opinion, be a massive mistake and would undermine so many of the things and the integrity of the Bassmaster organization, because whatever Bassmaster does is a trickle-down effect that goes through every level and every organization as well. I would lose a lot of faith in Bassmaster, and I would lose a lot of faith in the due diligence of the tech committee if they ban these power brakes, these remote brakes on the back of boats. There are multiple uses on multiple different fisheries. And even if they ban forward-facing sonar, if they ban all transducers to see forward, I would still have power brakes on the back of my boat because of the advantage that it gives me for boat control, for slowing down, just like power poles, except where the power poles can't reach. It breaks 0 rules. It breaks 0 laws. It's not exceptionally expensive. It is a very viable tool that is very useful even without forward-facing sonar. It is very effective used in coordination with forward-facing sonar. And as just like you could have a guy dragging a bait with your trolling motor, you could definitely have a guy dragging your bait with the power brakes. But guess what? That's why in this game, you have cameras, you have laws, you have rules that 99.99% of these guys follow without a fault. Trust me, I was painfully aware that I cannot move my bait with my power brakes while I was fishing on Champlain. So much aware that I would not hit them with my bait in the water. I would wait till I slowed down. I would make sure. I even told my co-angler, hey, I can't, this is what I can and can't do with these based on my conversations with the bass officials. So I'm putting that on the tech committee because I know they're coming out with something soon, sooner rather than later, pleading with them to look at the reality of this. And I hope that this doesn't come down to a money and sponsorship thing or certain anglers who are vehemently opposed to them who have more say than other anglers in that issue. That's all I got. I need to play the music before I get in any trouble here. Say the word respectively. All right, I'm working on guests for the rest of the week. Also working on guests for next week. Stay tuned. BassZone.com to the website for all that. Guys, it's good to be back. Thanks for sticking along. Thanks for following the journey. All the comments and things that I got for qualifying for the national championship in Grand in November. Can't thank everybody enough. And Logan Parks, well-spoken, to have the wherewithal at his age to have the foundation after the $1 million win in the U.S. Open on Table Rock Lake. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. See ya.